Welcome to A Lunch with Biggie, a podcast about small business and creatives sharing their stories and inspiring you. My guest today started as a pop-up tent, to a trailer, to a food truck, and then in the course of a year had 2 locations open up, all because they wanted to start a barbecue joint, and actually his wife also wanted to do a donut shop. So what do? You blend them together, and they welcome the owner of Smokin' Donuts, Ian Russell. What's going on, man?
I'm good, man. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for having a lunch break with me.
Yeah.
So we're actually in your newest location right now, in the Milk District, which is pretty amazing. So I always ask, the first question I always ask is in your case it's going to be double question. So it's going to be, what's your go-to Smokin' Donuts lunch? And what's your regular outside of Smokin' Donuts? What's your favorite lunch? What's your go-to lunch / sandwich?
Go-to Smokin' Donuts lunch is, I think I and the majority of our staff, we probably eat turkey sandwiches and brisket sandwiches. So just the classics, Old Harsh potato roll, cucumber, cabbage slaw, pickles, onions, turkey or brisket. Nice. What about outside of Smokin' Donuts? What is my outside of Smokin' Donuts go-to lunch? If I'm lucky, and I am lucky often, but if I'm lucky, my wife has packed some kind of sandwich for me.
Okay.
But otherwise, my lunch is almost always just kind of some sort of deli meat
around.
And cheese and bread and mayonnaise wrapped up in plastic wrap in a bag.
Yeah. Oh, I gotcha. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about my intro, because I talked about the whole idea. Give people a little bit of a background of Smokin' Donuts and how it all started.
It was a shot in the dark because I wanted to cook for the public again. My wife knew that. And my wife had been traveling around the country, which she did for work, and was noticing donut locations pop up, boutique-y donut locations pop up that were not just Dunkin' Donuts or Krispy Kreme, and people putting fun, funky, savory food on their donuts. I wanted to cook for the public again, and I had been reading about smoking meats and barbecue, which was a blind spot for me. I didn't study it in culinary school. I never worked for a chef that smoked meats. And at the time when we started this, I was working in the wine industry, and had just been kind of reading, making some really bad barbecue, practicing in my yard with this little teeny tiny smoker that my wife bought me for Christmas. And at some point along the way, Juliana said, hey, we should do a little pop-up somewhere. Like, people are doing these things under tents, and we should do a farmer's market or whatever, a little festival affair. And we should do donuts. We should do funky donuts, right? We should do something crazy with savory toppings on donuts, and then you can cook for the public, something she knew I had been wanting to do for a while again, and we can have a little fun. And she said, it should be donuts, and I responded by saying, cool, I love the idea, but I would love to let's try barbecue. I want to see if we can do something with barbecue. And she said donuts, and I said barbecue. She said donuts, and I said barbecue, and then we just, neither one of us backed down, I think, and we both got what I wanted. Yeah, it was a marital compromise, a premarital compromise. I think we were engaged at the point. So
that's crazy. That's kind of how it came about.
Mm-hmm.
The whole aspect of it. But now even though you said you don't, like, you kind of were dabbling in the whole idea of barbecue, like, you've been a barbecue fan for a while, because one of the things I read and that I found very intriguing about you was, like, you pretty much graduated. I think it was graduated high school, got on a motorcycle and started driving, and kind of left Orlando and started eating barbecue in, like, Carolina, Texas, Tennessee. Spent some time in Texas.
In Texas.
And all Texas of that type country. Of stuff. Yeah. And so, like, you definitely had it was a love for barbecue.
A love for barbecue, but it was a blind spot for me from a culinary standpoint. I didn't know how to make it. I didn't know anything about it. I just knew that, even up in, there's this place called Curtis's in Putney, Vermont, that we used to go to all the time, who makes these killer ribs out of a school bus. They sell it out of a school bus. So yeah, I have loved barbecue for a long time. It's super cool. You take these tough, sort of challenging hunks of meat that you can't just throw on a grill. You can't. There's a lot you cannot do with them. But if you smoke them, low and slow for a long period of time, you slowly break down the collagen, turns into gelatin. You break down the connective tissue, and all of a sudden you get this magical these magical creations, this magical food. So yeah, a fan of barbecue for a long time, for sure. Just had no idea how to make it. I mean, like I said in the beginning, my barbecue was awful. It was terrible. And I subjected my wife and I think mother and some friends to, of course, and they told me it was great in the beginning, but yeah, a fan of it for a long time, just didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
Didn't. French cuisine, great. No
I was going to say,
problem.
because you're classically trained.
Yeah.
You're classically trained. That was one of the other things that I thought was interesting, was that you, like, even when you did travel and once you did that, you decided to go. You wanted to go to culinary school. Went, it's culinary school in New York, which then I guess is kind of how inspired. One of the things on your menu is what is it? How do you call it? Because it's kind of mouthy. Because it's like, I call it 1121 road trip. Is that like, what do you guys call it?
It's the 1,121 mile road trip, but people call it the road trip.
Okay.
It's the distance from the capital of South Carolina to the capital of Texas. We got South Carolina style pulled pork on it, and our brisket is very Texas in style.
That's and it's super good, super good. I absolutely love it. So I definitely get it. And I think you kind of touched a little bit on it, like Juliana's, like, so was Juliana a baker as well, like when it comes to the fact that she wanted to do donuts, or she just was like, honey, you're the one that knows how to cook. I want donuts.
Juliana's a food geek.
She's a foodie. Yeah, okay. I like that.
No, she's not a baker.
Okay. And then how did you guys come about? So like, did you have to come up with like your own, like obviously you studying some French pastries and stuff like that. Is that kind of how you went? You're like, I'm going to just come up with like a good cake type donut in order to be able to, kind of have the balance of the sweet and savory?
In the beginning, I mixed eggs and milk and flour and sugar on board the truck and made individual batches every single time, and it was a logistical nightmare. So now we outsource to a bakery to give us a mix that helps us make it in volume consistently. It eases our lives in terms of creating the product that we want consistently, extremely consistently. But in the very beginning, it was a bunch of mixing bowls and scales on board the food truck, making donut batter.
Okay, so let's kind of do a little bit of give a little bit of a timeline, because I think people kind of, and I know I mentioned like how you did all these, how you went from pop-up to trailer to food truck to then having pretty much, I guess it would be a counter service at one point, or at least doing some stuff with UCF, and then now having pretty much 2 locations in the course of, like, I would say in 6 months. You basically, and we'll talk a little bit more in detail, but kind of talk a little bit about how that progression went. Like, what made you to start, and especially since like I'm assuming you had another job before you started doing all these things. So like, when you started, did you and Juliana have full-time jobs when you start first doing the pop-ups?
Oh yeah, 100%. Until Juliana still has a full-time job.
Okay.
Until the end of 2018, I still had a full-time job. So we did our first pop-up, our first paid pop-up, the first where we charged guests. Like, our first paying guest visited us July 1st of 2017. Before that, in 2016, we started the company. We put the paperwork together, and we did a lot of neighborhood parties. Right, we would invite friends and family, and then folks from the neighborhood, and we would do little pop-ups in our driveway. And then in 2017, we did at Red Cypress Brewery is that Winter Springs over there?
Yeah.
No longer there, but
I was going to say no longer
brewery,
there, right?
Yeah, no longer there, but their beers rocked. In the back alley behind the brewery, we had a beige pop-up tent. There's a picture on the wall over there, actually. We had a beige pop-up tent, and we actually, so we had the pop-up and the first trailer. It was just the utility trailer, at the same time. And this was the utility trailers what we used to haul way too much stuff around. I started us off with, I wanted a kitchen setup. Like, I wanted people to walk up to the pop-up and feel like they were looking into a commercial kitchen, into a restaurant kitchen. So rather than being intelligent and using nice folding tables that you could carry with little handles on them, that weigh about 15 pounds, I bought a whole bunch of stainless tables. Yeah, I know. I bought a whole bunch of stainless tables, big 5 foot, 6 foot, 4 foot. I drew a diagram out to fit in our 10 by 10 tent, and bought tables to maximize the space. So we had a restaurant looking setup under our beige pop-up tent, and a little tiny tabletop deep fryer. We used chafing kits for our hot line, and we used a cooler for our cold line. It was insanely difficult to set up. It took hours, and took hours to break down. It was a horrible idea from a logistics standpoint, but I don't. Sometimes I just start things and I kind of let the idea run before fleshing out all of the logistics.
Yeah.
Because if I put too much down on paper and I think too much about it, I'll probably think myself out of doing it. So sometimes I just say, just get started and let the inertia of it kind of go forward. And then I end up, desperately needing friends and family and nieces and nephews to help me carry all this crap around. That is insanely difficult to set up and break down. But gratefully, I have an insanely strong support system around me. So it's worked. But that was the pop-up.
And then you went from pop-up to then... When did you get the trail? Like, when did you get the trailer? The actual food trailer?
Because the pop-up was stupid hard. We decided, I think we were at some event, and the first time I saw a food trailer was Little Blue Donut.
Yeah.
I saw them in a trailer, and I looked at it, and I was like, hey, you know what? That looks much more attainable and affordable than an actual food truck, because a truck is...
expensive.
Expensive, right. And we still didn't know at this point. I mean, it was donuts and barbecue, and people were responding really well. I mean, the reason we kept going is because we sold out at every event, even though I kept making more food. But it was still donuts and barbecue, and it didn't Google. Like, you couldn't find the combination. It didn't Google. So still, we were trying to limit the risk exposure a little while increasing our utility and our ability to not have to carry around stainless steel tables all over the place. So we bought a trailer. At the end of 2017. We made the move pretty quick. So July 1st, first official event. And then at the end of July, we had made a down payment and designed the trailer and took delivery of it at the beginning of 2018. But still very much full-time day job. I was a territory manager for Central and North Florida, traveling around doing wine events.
So how did you... So it's funny because both of you are traveling.
Yeah.
In your job, in your like at that time, both of your day jobs. How are you figuring out or logistically working the fact that you had to like be home to like smoke meats or make meats and make donuts or at least prep donuts and all that stuff? Like, was it just like a, hey, I need you to do this, or you would just like, were you able to come home when you were doing, or were you actually like when you traveled, you were actually like out and about in some areas for a few days?
I was every once in a while for a few days, but it was more satellite locations that I could drive to.
Oh, okay.
So there was a lot of go do a wine dinner in St. Pete, and then drive home from the wine dinner in St. Pete and know that we had a pop-up the next day, or a food truck event, whatever it was, and just start smoking when I got home.
Yeah.
The answer is a lot of skipping sleep. A lot of times was the answer. And Juliana would work on all of the whatever marketing materials we needed. She would get menus printed for us. She would work on all of the sort of back end administrative stuff that we need. All of our social media,
all the things,
posts,
all the things
everything.
all the other things that are like. I mean, that's kind of the beauty when you have at least two of you, because then it's like, okay, well, I can at least, because it's difficult when you're doing it all by yourself.
Super hard.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, it's difficult doing it with two people. I think by yourself, it's impossible.
Yeah.
I think it's impossible. Yeah. And I mean, obviously, so without the social media presence that she built for us, again, impossible. No, it's a non-starter. Yeah.
Yeah. And then once you guys did that, when did you at what point was the conversation then in the process that you were like, okay, so then, well, I guess before you even have this location, you guys did a la carte.
We did.
You guys were at a la carte for a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then, so I guess that kind of helped as well. I mean, it's always kind of like, it's the learning experience, right? So it's like step by step. And then I'm assuming then you started getting some traction. And I guess because I know UCF also does, they do like kind of like local spots.
Local restaurant row.
Yeah.
They call it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you can basically kind of set up. So how did that all kind of go about? Because like I mean, you guys have a great spot. It's like, and it's my old stomping grounds. Like, it's beautiful in there. I actually ate there last week, and when I was there, I was like, man, I'm like, I remember this because it used to be back in the day. I'm a UCF. It was Wackadoos.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, this is crazy. And I'm like, it's beautiful. But how did you guys kind of go from there? Because obviously you kind of had you guys, and then the other thing is, you forget the other part of it is you don't just have your trailer and then doing, the restaurant. You also have like another site that you guys have a catering side of the house.
We do.
So there was like another side of it component as well that you're doing. So you're not just doing food for, I'm doing food out of my food trailer or food truck. You're doing that, you're doing catering, and then you're also doing, like, how the heck are you guys balancing that and figuring all that out? At what point did, like, when it got to that point, is that when you kind of were like, okay, I gotta have to stop and I'm gonna have to kind of focus? Or at what point did you kind of say, I have to have, like, Juliana, I gotta have the conversation of like, I'm gonna have to kind of stop?
It was the end of 2018, and we kind of had the conversation of hey, listen, I'm working all day and then smoking all night and then working all day and then smoking all night. And at this point, we were only doing 1 to 3 events with the food truck per week. And we were doing some catering as well. And that was out of the location in College Park. We rented a warehouse space over there, right? And so at the end of 2018, we had the conversation, basically hey, listen, we either have to kind of double down and I've got to quit my day job, or we need to get rid of this whole concept. It has to go away. Like, wow. One or the other. I have to quit my day job, or we have to say goodbye to this idea. Because it was too much, like way too much. And the conversation went the route of, hey, let's give it a shot. And that's the point where Juliana started, supporting us completely. And so not only taking care of, the social media component and the marketing aspect of the company, but also supporting our family from a financial standpoint.
Yeah.
Because the company wasn't making any money in the beginning. I mean, here and there we make a little bit, but, certainly not.
Yeah, it's enough almost to kind of like incur some cost and then be able to kind of get you to the next to buy more supplies to kind of build.
Every time we thought, hey, we're going to make a little profit this month. Then it's like, no, now we need a new fridge, or a fridge broke, or, no, we always just had to keep putting money back into the company. So that was at the end of 2018. And then in the beginning of 2019, I was done with the day job completely. And we went on the food truck circuit, right? And started doing the lunch circuit and the dinner circuit, and like the event circuit at the evenings, during evenings. And that was busy, really busy. And again, it was a situation where we were selling out. We were always selling out, which was fantastic. I mean, it's what you want to do in a food truck. Yeah. You don't want to have anything left in a food truck. There's nowhere to store it, right? It's you want to sell out. But you don't want to leave money on the table either. So we would shove as much as we could possibly get into those little fridges in the food truck and go out on the circuit. And then it was the end of 2019 when we had our little pop-up space in Bellicoso, which Mills 50, that someone approached me and asked me about potentially putting a Smokin' Donuts outlet inside of their location, and we said yes. It was an opportunity that we couldn't say no to. It was a great option for a little starter brick and mortar location. But that was the end of 2019. And so we really moved in right at the beginning of 2020, and just doubled down in that location, and then COVID hit and took it out immediately. Thankfully, knock on wood, we were supported by Orlando. So we didn't go out of business because people just found a way to find us and to buy our food. So they kept us alive, which is great because so many restaurants didn't have that.
Correct.
That good fortune. But we had just crazy support from the city. So we stayed alive. And and then we moved into a la carte, and we got lucky too. I mean, we had a space set up in a la carte. We had a space reserved in a la carte where we moved in July 1st again. July 1st seems to be a good day for us.
Yeah, I was going to say.
July 1st of 2020. But the idea was we had this production kitchen over in College Park, and the idea was to buy another food truck to keep on the circuit, and then put the food trailer, because trailers are hard to drive, put the food trailer into a la carte and have 2 locations 2 outlets, along with Bellicoso. So we were actually going to have 3 outlets, and then we were going to slowly grow this catering brand. Instead, we did not buy a second food truck, thank God, because that would have put us under immediately. And we kind of rode out the storm at a la carte.
No, which I think worked out
Extremely well.
It worked out very well.
Yeah.
And then how did the whole thing with UCF, how did that kind of come about? Because with UCF, I'm assuming that happened first, or I guess you'll be able to give me a better story. So like UCF, and then obviously there's the location here, Milk District, which the interesting part about this spot is that this was not, at least and you can correct me if I'm wrong, this used to be a popcorn place. Uh-huh. So I'm assuming it was not a kitchen.
No.
So explain to me, or at least kind of give me an idea of when, because the location obviously is prime, but in the process of timing, or at least chronologically, were both of them, or was the this location that we're in now happen first, but it just because it takes so dang long and months of like, how did all that work out with between UCF and then also, because now you have literally 2 locations
all of a sudden. Yeah.
All of a sudden.
And I swear, man, someday I have to write this down so that it's clear for me, the chronology of what happened. But UCF found us. They secret shopped us. They scouted us at a la carte.
Okay.
They found us there. And one day this woman, Wendy, came up to me when I was at a la carte. Actually, she emailed me and asked if I could come meet her. And she said, "Hey, I work for Aramark, and we run the culinary operations at UCF. And I went to your food truck the other day, and I'd love to see if you have some time to meet." And I kind of chuckled, and I was like, "Yeah, sure, yeah, I'll meet you. Why not? UCF, sure, why not?" And so I went over, we sat down for a little bit. So she starts to describe, hey, we have this thing called Local Restaurant Row, and it's local authentic cuisine. It's a pop-up. And as she was talking in my brain, I was going, holy shit. Yeah, no, she's serious. She's serious about giving us a spot inside of UCF Student Union. I totally thought she was absolutely full of it, because it didn't make any sense to me. We're in the middle of, a knife fight, getting through COVID, and someone approaches me about a location inside of the student union at UCF. It was too disparate for me, right? And so I met with her. She said, "Here's what we have. It's you pop up once 1 week out of every month. There's a cold steam table and a hot steam table and a big catering kitchen in the back, and you can warm things and prep things and fry donuts on site, and we'd love to have you." And I said, yes, we would love to have us. We would love to go. Yes. And that was in 2020. It was the end of 2020. So I think towards the end of 2020 was the first time that we had an event at UCF in the Local Restaurant Row. And then it was super successful. Like, we were slammed. So as time went on, and that's not true, not even as time went on. In the beginning, when we got out there, I told Wendy, I said, listen, one of my goals is to make it clear to you that we can keep up with the volume, and that we can be consistent enough, and that we should have a space full-time here in the student union. And she kind of chuckled at me this time. We both laughed at each other a couple times, apparently. But I was serious, and she eventually took me seriously, even if not in the beginning. And so as time went on, and we were busier and busier, and we were able to keep up with the volume, she started flirting the idea, started dangling the idea in front of me of taking over a full-time location there.
Yeah.
And May we started in the summer, which is good, because we started during a very slow season.
I was gonna say slow time,
yeah, which is really good.
Get you at least acclimated to it because obviously once fall hits,
you just get pounded, absolutely inundated otherwise. So so that was last year. And it's been fantastic. I mean, it's been great.
When did you open? Busy. So you opened the spot, the permanent location, not the row.
Mm-hmm. Permanent location, May of last year.
So okay, yes,
yeah, summer of last year.
You opened that, and then what? How did this location come about? Because I understand it, not a fraction of a teeny bit of what you guys go through, and I'm just kind of curious, because you've had this. You guys announced that something was coming, and then it took, and obviously there was a lot of things that took time and things to create and all that stuff, because obviously, like I said, this place was not built for smokes, was not built for making smoking donuts.
It wasn't. It was October of 2021 that we, October and November of 2021, I think it was October, that we signed the lease here.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And Juliana found this place, actually. She just, I think from driving by.
Yeah.
We had been looking for a spot. We knew we needed to grow, and that the food truck wasn't going to continue to support us as we needed it to. And so we knew we needed to grow into a brick and mortar location. And when we were shopping, we were looking, we had a real estate agent that we were working with, and just nothing was popping up that was super attractive to us, because we needed, the demands that we have from a logistical standpoint are kind of goofy. We need a space to put big giant smokers, and we're close enough to the building that we can access them and that we can put a cover over them, but far enough away from the building, so that we don't have fire issues. And we needed a production kitchen where we could make, all of the sauces and all of the relishes and the sides and everything that we serve, to service catering, to service, in theory, another food truck, which is, probably a future conversation that we'll have, and to service UCF. So we needed a production kitchen, but we needed it to be in a good enough location that we would not have to, that we would be busy. And we needed space for smokers. So the demands that we brought to the real estate agent were relatively unrealistic.
Yeah. And
Juliana saw this space, and she's like, "Babe, there's space on the side for smokers. It's in a killer location. There's tons of drive-by traffic. There's even 14 parking spaces. It's central. It's right next to a la carte. People know us over there. It would be easy for them to find us over here."
Correct.
So, it was a massive project to turn this into a Smoke and Donuts location.
Yeah.
But I think it was the right choice.
Yeah.
I think it was the right choice.
No, I totally agree. I mean, it's gorgeous.
Thank you.
And I think it's, obviously in the Milk District, in that like Colonial Town Milk District area, which is like,
Milk District rocks.
Yeah.
It's great here.
Yeah, it is. I call it the sandwich. I would say it's the sandwich district. It's not the Milk District. Like, there's more sandwiches here than anywhere else. I tell people just to literally park their car somewhere and just walk around.
It's becoming a walkable, little walkable urban center, right?
You can totally do it. You can totally do it. One of the things that you mentioned, like the good thing, the interesting thing about it, because obviously when we talk about barbecue, and that was the other thing I think that I really enjoy about what you guys are doing, is the fact that, obviously there's the traditional barbecue,
yes,
which you guys do a traditional barbecue, but you put your own flair to it. Mm-hmm. There's certain aspects. Like, one of the things my wife absolutely loves, she loves mac and cheese, but she loves your stuffed mac and cheese with like the pulled pork inside and everything like that. I mean, it's delicious. And so I think that's kind of one of the aspects that I love. I also love the fact that, like, you guys pretty much at least from what I experienced when I ordered, may have ordered a half a dozen donuts to try. You guys almost have, like, from what I gathered, and one of the concepts that it looks like you have, because you also have a full bar.
We do.
So at least from when I was here, your bartender was almost like literally your bartender / also donut maker. And he kind of was like, did that, but I saw him actually making my donuts. So it wasn't like they were made to order. It was not like I'm going and grabbing, like, I want this, and that. I mean, yeah, there's displays of what the donuts look like, but you basically are actually going and saying, I want this, and then they're actually making it for you.
Exclusively made to order.
Yeah, which I think is awesome to be able to see something like that. And you definitely enjoy being able to see that in creation, because I actually was like sat and watched a little bit as he was making. I even thanked him when I was done, because I was like, man, these are gorgeous. I didn't want to eat them, but trust me, we did. So yeah, you guys do. It was very, very smart on how you guys have kind of worked that aspect of it. Which I think is great. And then the fact that you kind of have a little bit like you guys have a Cuban, you guys have your version of your barbecue Cuban, which I think is great. And the fact that you also have a really nice variety of sauces. So you have a little bit of the Alabama, you got the Carolina sauce. I mean, you got all the different types of, which are all done in house, which I think are all things that you want and expect when you come. Like, everything's made in house.
Yes.
Which I think is, makes it special, and you at least I appreciate it as a foodie when I come, because my family, we love sauces, so we grabbed every single one and used everything to pour on to try to see, like, ooh, I like this one, ooh, I like that one, oh, this is the one that we really like, remember that for next time. and things like that.
We want it that way. We want the barbecue to be able to speak for itself, right? To not need a sauce. And so that's what you say, where we do some very classic styles of cooking, and the idea is that the meat doesn't have to have anything, right? The brisket, the pulled pork, the chicken, ribs, whatever, they're ready when they come out of the pit. But sauces are really fun. I love sauces. And so what I did for the sauces is sort of, we didn't start off with this many sauces. We started off with, I think, just 2. But as we went along and we started smoking more different proteins, we would add a sauce to complement it, right? So when we added turkey breast, I thought, for turkey breast, we have to have a Carolina style mustard barbecue sauce. And so I went back to books from school and kind of stole little bits from here and there, from some different chefs and from some things that I read online and from school books, and made a Low Country style, mustard barbecue sauce to go on the turkey. And that's how that progressed, and that's how it all, that's how it stayed in house. And I think I know for me, one of the important things about keeping as much as humanly possible in house and just made here is that we can keep it lighter, we can keep it more delicate, we can keep it, we can make sure that the food is something that you can eat and consume, and even though it's barbecue and donuts, you can still feel like you can continue your day. Everything is just real food put together in a pretty classic way, served in a way that we think tastes good. That's kind of what we're looking at.
Okay, so my wife always asks the question of balance, but I don't think there is a balance for you. So I'm gonna ask the part where I want you to give me an idea of what's your favorite part of this journey, and what's been the toughest part of this journey.
Favorite part of the journey is a combination of the 2 types of support that come in, and one type of support is what I mentioned before. The city has been amazing to us, right? And it's super exciting and it's super fun to see. I mean, it's overwhelmingly exciting to see a restaurant full of people, or a food truck, a line outside of your food truck, but a restaurant full of people here to eat the food that we've been putting together. There's something very, very, very enlivening to me about putting food together for people and having them enjoy it and having them have fun when they visit us. And so that is definitely one of the most important things and the most exciting and the fun for me. It picks me up every single time. But then the other half of that is the support that I get from, and I never understood exactly what entrepreneurs, what people that started businesses were talking about when they said, this is really a team effort. This is about the support from my wife and from my kids and from my friends and from my family. But it is, dear God, it is so much more than I think anybody can ever imagine. It is about this network, and if it's big from a number standpoint, if it's 10 people, if it's 20 people, or if it's 4 people or 5 people that support the living daylights out of you. I mean, literally willing to pick you up off of the floor when you've been working 40, 50, 60, 100 hours straight. It's amazing to see what people will do for people that they love and for people that they care for, when the need is there. So the support to continue to move forward and to grow and to be picked up off of the floor when I'm like, that's it. I'm wiped. I'm crushed. Has been the best part of this for sure. Yeah, for sure.
And then I'm assuming the worst part of it is the aspect that you're putting in 100 hours, not sleeping, and then having it because you're going nonstop.
Yeah, that's the worst part is not sleeping, is sleep deprivation. 108 hours is the longest shift I ever pulled, but really? It was 108 hours straight of working in the restaurant and smoking meats, and then working in the restaurant and smoking meats, and it's way too long. It's not good. It's not
healthy.
You shouldn't do that.
No.
But yeah, that's the worst part is the demands of making sure that the product that we put out is what it needs to be, without enough staff to get it to happen, to make it happen. So, but thankfully, we've been very fortunate in the past week or so, and there's an actual restaurant now, not just a food truck,
not just a concept,
and not just a concept. And so people are coming to us now and saying, "Hey, I want to learn to smoke meats. Hey, I want to work for you," which is exciting because I think it means the 100-hour shifts are on their way out.
No, though that's definitely what you want.
I mean,
that's
for
kind
sure.
of and that's always the hard part I've noticed when it comes to restaurants is also that aspect, the balance of like, okay, how much do I I'm like, what kind of owner am I going to be? Am I going to be the owner that is constantly always in the kitchen nonstop? And then how do I get? At what point do you start that separation aspect of it? And trying to do that balance. I think that's always kind of a hard one, and I can imagine for a restaurant person that's actually cooking the food and doing that. Like at one point, do I feel comfortable enough to kind of let someone else smoke the meats and not be the one? I do love the fact that you created this location to be able to almost take away the College Park, the other location, I'm assuming.
Yeah, we consolidated.
So everything is consolidated into one, which is great because then you kind of have the other venues and options that it gives you for doing everything here, because then you can provide the food, major areas of food, of smoked meats and all that stuff over to UCF, as well as the catering, which I think is amazing to be able to do, and it's very, very smart to kind of be able to go that route.
Bringing everything under one roof is a game changer for us. It's a game changer. And yeah, I mean, crazy hours is a classic in this industry. I mean, this is the industry of you sleep in the restaurant and you wake up, you wake up and you start work again. Barbecue is its own special animal, and because of the amount of, a brisket smoke will take 24 hours, more or less, right? And so we have a great staff here. Like, I don't have to make all the sauces. I don't have to produce, the mac and cheese, and I don't have to produce all the potatoes, and I'm not making all that myself. We have an amazing team that does that for us. For us, the major reason behind the ridiculous component of ours is the barbecue part, where I've had people in the past that have done a great job at smoking meats for us, but it wears on them. You know what I mean? So finding a team that can be that 3 8-hour shift crew for us is a tricky thing. Specifically finding the person that's willing to do the overnights, right? It's the overnights that are tough. And so that's where we've gotten ourselves. That's where I've gotten myself in a little bit of trouble, and been forced to do the all-nighters and then work in the restaurant, and then do the all-nighter and work in the restaurant. But again, I think we're at a spot now where we have interest and
opportunity.
So opportunity is here. I think it's on its way out. But
no, I get that. What obviously you love food. What is it about food that you love? And what is it about food that you love, but also what is it about food? Because obviously you have a love, but you also have to have a passion to be able to put in the amount of hours that you're putting in to be able to produce food for someone to be able to enjoy. And so I'm kind of curious about that. Like, where does that love come from?
It's funny. I was a friend of mine, Elliot from Red Panda Noodle, was here last night, and he came to visit us.
Yeah, I saw a picture of that on my social.
And we were chatting for a while because he's a hardcore food science geek, and he's a killer cook. And so I was thinking about a couple things after he left, and when I went home late last night, and I was the first and most important thing I think is that I'm an eater. I like food. I like to eat food. So what I love about cooking, the first component of it is that I like to eat food. I mean, that's kind of always been there, and I think that's the most important thing for a cook is. And I swear I don't remember the name of this chef, but the first restaurant that I worked at, a place called the Wild Orchid, and the chef's name there was Jim Wilder, but I worked with a couple other chefs there who taught me a ton of stuff about working in restaurants. And they even said to me in the beginning, they're like, "Yeah, Ian, I think you'll be all right because you're an eater. You like to taste food. You like to eat food." So for me, I think probably even the reason that I was so excited about going to culinary school is the mystery behind how. Like, how do you make this food taste like this? Where does this come from? How? And so to me, that mystery, that secret world of the chef, what happens behind those kitchen doors that makes food taste like this, has always been super exciting and intriguing to me.
Yeah.
But it comes from liking to eat food. I mean, I think it comes from liking to, being an eater. And then the other side of that is, why willing to do it for so many hours, and why where does the passion component of it come from? A lot of that is I enjoy the logistics. I enjoy the utilitarian component, the technician part of it. It's fun to dice an onion, but I like to see how close I can get to a quarter of an inch, when I'm small dicing an onion. And I don't know why or where that comes from, but I like the day-to-day technical components of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of fun. I love the sound of protein when it hits hot oil in a pan. For some reason, for me, it does it for me. I like it. From a barbecuing standpoint, I mean, these big smokers are cool. It's never not cool when I show up here and I look at them and I'm like, oh, these are fun, man. And so tending a fire and working with these big pieces of meat, the technical hands-on component of it, for me, I get a lot of joy out of. I think it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I think obviously that's got to be the main thing, right? Because if it's not fun, then
has to be. You got to love the day-to-day logistics of it. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to love that. You got to love the journey of it, and you got to love the process, because it's definitely a process.
For sure.
When every single time you're doing, like you said, 24 hours for a brisket.
Sure.
That's a long time.
I mean, I won't say that there is a great part of it that I enjoy the creative process as well. Like, I very much enjoy the creative process where I go, all right, there's sweet potatoes, local, and I gotta do something with these. I'm gonna make something with them. I think the first time we did the grits and sweet potatoes with that chipotle relish is because Frog Song Organics had these killer little sweet potatoes. And I knew that I wanted to play with them and do something with them, and so I started looking in other cookbooks. I have a lot of cookbooks at home. Actually, I have a bunch of boxes of them here too, but I've got a lot of cookbooks, right? I definitely collect cookbooks. And so I started looking, you just look in the back in the index and look up sweet potato and see what other chefs have done with sweet potato. And so looking 10, 12, 15 different cookbooks, what have chefs done with sweet potatoes? And then I'll look in, old notes from school, and I'll look at the old, but again, these are just other chefs that I'm, taking stuff from. And what have you done with sweet potatoes? And so that process of putting together something new is very fun, super fun. Yeah. But that's rare. That doesn't happen all the time. This is not a restaurant where every single week I'm coming up with something new. It's not that kind of location. We have to have some staples that stick with us. But I like that. That's a lot of fun too.
Yeah.
There's no way of getting around the fact that creative process is very exciting and very invigorating.
I think that's something that I've heard and gotten from as well, from a lot of like the bakers and everyone else like that. Anyone who does in the culinary field, that's kind of like the thing. It's like, yes, I like doing this, but I love having the creative output or the creative ability to do that, because that, everyone, you got to have your consistency. But at the same time, like, there's nothing better than be able to create those other flavors and create those other things, because it's exciting. And I get it even in my own world, because I get excited coming up with an idea. And then once the idea is done and I've already kind of produced it and it's taken so long to produce, by the time I have it, I'm ready to like, okay, what's my next one? I'm excited for that. I'm like, yeah, that one's there now. I got to go to the next idea now, because that's how my brain works. So I totally get that, and I totally understand that.
This is where you have to curb your enthusiasm kind of thing, because exactly, of course, as soon as I'm done with something and I'm happy with it, which usually takes there's many iterations before I'm happy with it, and then I see people eating it and they're happy with it, and I'm like, all right, cool, good, done. What's next? Yep. And and so that's why I have to curb that a little bit sometimes, because you can't always just be sending new things to your production kitchen, sending new things to your line cooks to make. They'll all quit on you.
Yeah.
But there is definitely that. Okay, this is done. now I want to work on greens. Let's find something fun. Let's make some greens. And that, like, right now, this is what I want to do, is make something fun with greens. So yeah, it's definitely there. But I think that's where that's where it's so important to also enjoy dicing an onion. Because if you also enjoy dicing an onion, you can get your thrills there too. It doesn't have to just be a new dish.
I totally get that. I have no problem cutting onions at home, because to me it's very methodical. It's very I kind of like it. Just kind of, I don't know what it is. It kind of, I separate myself from not having to do it. It's
sure. I love the way I love the way my knife feels when it's really sharp and it just sort of falls through the onion. It's these little technician components of it are really fun, which is crucial. I think it's super important.
No, totally get that. What advice would you give someone who is wanting to start something?
Do not stop. Do a little bit of planning. Put some ideas on paper a little bit, and then start and see what happens with the inertia. And I think a lot of times it's very easy to get into the business world, and not to say you shouldn't have a plan. You have to have a plan. You need a business plan. You need you have to look at the numbers. You have to have some guides for yourself, some guidelines for yourself. But I think it's very easy to plan yourself out of existence, and to prep yourself into nothing. And I think it is riskier, maybe. It certainly is risky, and maybe it's a little bit scary, although that's kind of a little BS, because for me it wasn't scary, to just kind of start and see where the inertia takes you, and be confident enough in yourself. And I mean, you have to have the skill set needs to be there. Make sure you know what you're doing. Don't pick something that you have no idea about, because you need to know that if the bricks start to fall, your technical you can dice an onion well enough to pick them up and to catch things as they fall. So, pick something that you're really good at, and then don't be afraid of starting just because your plan isn't perfect yet. Just get the ball rolling. And this is what I do almost all the time. Is I in a field that I'm comfortable, right? I get the ball rolling and catch things as they come at me. And let the inertia pull me along. And don't get me wrong, that causes problems.
I mean, but it also sounds like you're failing forward is kind of how it almost works, right? I mean, like, there's certain aspects to it. I mean, I think the fact that, like you mentioned in the beginning, is like you kind of went the route of, like, I had this idea, I started it, and then as things go, you can start making changes. It doesn't have to be perfect when you start.
For sure. It does not have to be. I think trying to make something perfect before you start is a surefire way of making sure you will never start.
Correct. No, I think you're absolutely right. What's something that, so you've been doing this now for a while. So if you can get back to yourself, like if you and Juliana are like sit down again and you're like, you basically Back to the Future. We're going Back to the Future. Yeah. Right. And you and Juliana are together and you're eating, obviously you're eating inside the restaurant right now, and you're like, but you get a chance to go back in time to tell yourself something during this process of this whole thing that you've been doing. What is something that you would tell yourself?
Yeah, good question. I think it would be to tell us that the support will be there, specifically when it seems like there's no chance in hell that you can keep going forward. The support will be there to back you up, and that that it will be okay. That you will make it to a place where you can kind of settle down for a couple minutes. Although, like I said, I'm not there today, but it's there now. I can see it here very soon. That concept, that the idea of getting to a spot where you can actually sit back and calmly run this group of people, run this company. Will be there. It will come. It will be there. Just keep pushing.
Yeah. Like right now you're doing the well, you've already done the sweat equity, but you're doing now you're at it's a new level. So it's like you kind of like, every single time you've kind of had it's like a new level. It's like you're playing a video game, and every single level you're like, okay, I beat the first boss. Okay, now
No, there's another
now we're
bigger
here.
one.
Now I have a bigger one, and then at the end, hopefully, like that's kind of how it works, right? You figure out a way to manage it and learn it, because I mean, I'm assuming a lot of this also is new to you. Having
it is.
like even though you've worked in a restaurant, is having to have the larger staff, the different locations.
Sure.
All those things are all things that are like different components of how to balance it and how to do it. And that must be, and that's kind of the key when you say support system, because those are all things that you need.
It's so important. It is the success of our company, at least. I don't know other people's companies, but of our company, it is the support system.
Yeah.
It is the support system. And it's not just a support system from, friends and family. It's a support system of a staff and a crew that are willing to absolutely dig their heels in as hard as humanly possible to make things continue to move forward. Our staff is insanely talented and so damn committed. It's wild. And we would not be able to continue moving forward the way that we have. We would not be able to, since our grand opening and even, during the soft opening, we've been slammed. Not like I thought we were going to be. I did not expect this. It was drilled into me at culinary school. It will take 6 months before people even know where you are, right? Like the average propensity for someone to wait after hearing that a location is open is supposed to be like 6 months. But it has not been that way. We've been absolutely pounded, which is marvelous. It's wonderful. It means we can pay banknotes, right? But it is pushing our crew to the absolute edge, and every single one of them, although they're tired and they're exhausted and they're wiped out, they are flying at the same time. They are absolutely a group of some of the baddest ass cooks I've ever worked with, and just individuals that are so willing to commit themselves, their own sweat equity, their own energies. Which giving your energy that's it, right? Giving of your energy and of your time. That's it.
Yeah.
Those are the things that you can give to other people, is your energy and your time. And we have a crew right now that are so damn willing to give of their energy and time. That I'm constantly blown away, constantly amazed by them. So
that's awesome. So tell people where they can follow you and where they can enjoy some Smokin' Donuts.
Yeah, you can follow us on social media. The handle is Smoke and Donuts, SMOKEANDDONUTS, all 3 words fully spelled out. Our website is www.smokeanddonuts.com. So we're Instagram, Facebook, all social media outlets. And we're located at 601 North Primrose Drive in Orlando, Florida. Just off Colonial, so Colonial and Primrose. And we are located inside the Student Union, where Wackadoos used to be, right? Yeah. Pegasus Drive, so in the UCF campus.
Where do you recommend parking if your parking lot is full in your lot?
If our parking lot is full, there's parking on the street behind us on Irvington. There's parking across the street in the enormous Colonial shopping center over there. Although, we do request you park out in the middle. Be mindful of the other locations that are over there as well. And then there is parking over in the municipal building over here, which is the sheriff's office and Parks and Rec. It's actually public parking. There is parking. We do request that you do not park in 7 Bites next door. That's the only request.
Yes.
Campus.
What is if you're recommending someone coming in and eating something, what's their what would be some things that you would highlight on your menu that you would recommend for folks to try? When
people come in and they say, all right, if I'm here, I'm new, I'm going to try one thing. What should I try? I almost always say a sliced brisket sandwich, marbled. A marbled brisket sandwich. With just as we serve it. Don't put anything on it. So it's on a toasted old hard potato roll with cucumber, cabbage, slaw, pickles, and onions. Marbled brisket sandwich is the first thing to go to. That being said, the barbecue bin that we make we sell more of those than anything else.
Yeah, I had that for lunch at UCF. With the fries. My wife had it as well. She loved it. She liked it she also liked it. One of the things that my wife is like, I love my family, because my family, we're all foodies.
Yeah.
So we enjoy going out to eat, but we also kind of so she got her Cuban. She ate half, took it home, The next day she ate it and she's like, it's good because it held
They
up.
reheat. Yeah,
it
they
holds
do.
up. It reheats well. She's like, that's when you know it's good. And I was like, yep. I'm like, the flavors are good. I was like, trust me. I'm like, I've had it. It's very, very good. So yeah, no, I think it's great. I think I really appreciate it. I'm really like excited for you guys. I love the fact that where you guys are, where you're at. It's kind of just it's just been a fun journey to be able to see what you guys have been creating and doing. I have one other question, and it's mostly because I want people when they come here, and I kind of sat and I stared at it for a long period of time. There is a wall when you walk in that has, and I don't even know what the heck you would call it. And basically it almost looks like phrases, almost kind of like if you were to do, I'm going to use it as Wheel of Fortune is kind of how I worded it. And I was trying to figure out, because all it has is like, there's smoke and then there's donut and then there's like a few words. I'm going to take a picture of it. I'm going to probably take a picture of it and put it on social so people can see it and kind of play around with it. But is there actually a phrase? Or is it just use your own imagination to create sentences? What is the premise behind it? And I'm just kind of curious.
Of our unknown wall.
Yeah.
So first, I realized I missed half of the company when you asked me what I recommend people come in and have one thing, and it's a sliced brisket sandwich.
Yeah.
But from a donut standpoint, we'll say I acquiesced. But at one point last year, I met a classically trained baking and pastry chef named Brett Vesna, and she's completely overhauled our donut menu. So I'm sure you've noticed there's been a change in our donuts from just being simple glazes with ice cream toppings,
which were amazing, which were still good.
Yes.
But I mean, these are definitely. I would say you rival now like the boutique, like what. Yeah. Juliana should be very happy right now because these are very boutique donuts and well worth it because they're very delicious.
These are not something I was able to make happen. I got lucky and this chef emailed me, and I was busy and I didn't pay attention to the first email. Shame on me that she sent me. And then she was very smart and she sent me another email, and this second email had pictures in it. And there were pictures of donuts with flames on them, and that got my attention. And so, anyways, I last year we hired this chef Brett Vesna, and so we have this whole new level of donuts. And of those, although I'm a fan of all of them, and I'm one of the most fortunate positions that I have is the taste tester of her new donuts. But of those, you if you love chocolate, you got to try the Nightfall, which actually it has a piece of fudge on top of it and toasted black sesame seeds and sea salt. And then if you're more in a fruity sort of mood, I'm lucky that she, on a consistent basis, sends me these little raspberry spice donuts, which have hot honey and fresh raspberries on them. So don't miss picking a donut as well when you.
No, you have to. Next time I plan to I want to do the donut slider because I want to do the brisket with
the two come together for sure. Yeah,
I want to be able to enjoy that. And I will say that if you go to UCF, you have to, because everyone and their mother commented on your black and gold donut, and it is delicious.
We needed a UCF donut, right? We had to have
and that was absolutely delicious. I was obviously very nice, and I actually brought it home. I didn't eat it when I bought it, and I actually split it and shared it with my family.
So the wall, we have been lucky enough for a long time now to work with an extremely talented designer named Susana Munoz, who came to us through Luis Munoz, who was our first employee. That she's insanely talented. The other brands that she works for in Orlando, for instance, are like Walt Disney World. She does incredible work. And we're fortunate enough that she also has been designing our brand from the end of 2019. And so she did the design inside here, all the graphics that we have on the walls and our t-shirts and so this little wall over here that you're referring to is it is a puzzle. It's Wheel of Fortune. That's what it is. It's a Wheel of Fortune. Yeah. You nailed it. I don't remember what it says. In the beginning it was all words, and I was like, I don't know. There's definitely a like, do not forget to stop and smell the barbecue. Do not forget to stop and smell.
Don't give me all of them.
There's that. It's in there. There's that kinds of things are in there, but the specifics, like there's one word over there I can't remember to save my life. But basically, when she first showed us the design, I was like, I mean, it's I'm okay. I'm cool with it. But it was just full on words. The whole words were there, and I was like, I don't know, is it cheesy? And she's like, okay, well, hang on, I got an idea. What if I take a bunch of letters away and we turn it into a puzzle? And so the puzzle we're good with. I like the puzzle.
No, it's I like the idea of a puzzle.
Yeah. I don't remember what it is. I would have to ask.
You may need to figure it out sooner or later, so that way someone wants to see it. But I will. I'm going to take some picture of at least a panoramic of it, so people can see. Because I literally sat there and I was like, and it's something fun to do because I was like, well, I'm sitting here, I'm eating, and I'm just staring at it, and I'm just like, what the heck is all of this? I'm like, is it one phrase? Is it 3 phrases? Is it a bunch of phrases?
It is a little form of entertainment. Yeah. And none of our staff, no one's figured it out yet.
No,
it's still a work in progress. Susanna is she's the key holder.
That's hilarious. Well, Ian, I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me today. I definitely know that you're quite busy, so I definitely appreciate that. That's our show for today. Thank you so much to Ian for being on of Smoking Donuts and having lunch with me. Definitely make sure to check them out. If you've been to their restaurant, or if you've eaten there, or if you've come to either one of their locations recently, start taking pictures. I want you to tag us. Definitely make sure to let us know. I want to see it, especially if sandwich selfies. I'm all about the sandwich selfies, as you know. If you want to enjoy if you want to support me, check out my brand, Deli Fresh Threads, and do some shopping there. And obviously tell your friends by the podcast. Like, by all means, please share with your friends. Tell your friends. It's all about supporting small business. Word of mouth is key for any small business, whether or not. So definitely make sure. Thank you. Until next time, keep eating sandwiches and follow your passion. Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks, Ian.
Thank you.